Namaskar. Good morning. Really nice to be here again in a MIT campus, and it's mainly thanks to Rotary Club Shivajinagar, who has already humbled me a few months back by making me honorary member. And I know that after spending about more than 20 years in Paris, they had a hidden purpose of making me honorary member, that I should learn more about India and the people, particularly in Pune. So thanks to Pradeep and his team, thanks to Prashant for that humble opportunity for me to serve as an honorary member, and also the opportunity for giving me this floor to talk about a totally difficult subject of peace. I think Rotary Club already knows a lot about my career, as you can see from various introductions they have been making at various fora, and I think probably they know more about my career than what I know. They probably also have a copy of my Nobel Peace Prize certificate with them. And yesterday evening, my friend Ivan from United Nations told me that he served as he was in charge of personal and administration of my office sitting in Geneva. So I was working in Paris and he was in charge of personal and administration there. So he already knows about all my details about salary and everything. So I don't think anything now hidden for my character. Having said that, I think it's a great pleasure to be in the university to talk about the peace. After listening to Dr. Netzel, I think he has taken all what I wanted to say about the responsibilities of the individuals and the communities about making peace happen and what we will do for that. And I probably will try to put his thoughts in more quantifiable way, as nowadays what United Nations tries to do. And it is a solution which is based on goals rather than solutions based on qualitative diplomacy. I have in front of me Ambassador Devre, who is a model in diplomacy, whom I knew for last more than 25 years. And he has set a standard of diplomacy. No doubt diplomacy cannot be taken out from the peace process. But what is needed now in today's world is trying to understand the quantification of the efforts required and the goals to be set which need to be met in a given time target. We indeed are living in a very, very strange world, and I am going to show you in a quick slides in about 20 minutes which I have, how complex, how unequal, how terrifying, how daunting, and how fearsome this world we are living in. And we are trying to have this dream of creating a peace there and trying to find the solutions of it. And I will also end my presentation by giving some thoughts on it. I remember in the morning I was talking to my friend Munira from Google. She became a friend only a few hours back. That we were discussing about the benefit of putting this FETA. And I was telling her in a different way of the benefits of FETA, and how dignified it looks and how the villagers wear it almost every day. And she told me apart from that, she feels quite nice in this FETA because you are quite confirmed, you are very secured to know that where your head is. And I remember the CEO of Google, her company, Sundar Pichai, who shares my DNA of IIT, saying once that we all know where our heart is, but many times we don't know where our head is. And I think FETA makes that head right in that place. And I hope my presentation would make that our head right on a focused part and more taking us to the solutions rather than describing the issue. That's the map, which I think if I go from here, I think you are able to hear me? Yes, okay. So because I'm able to see this here rather than I have to see on a screen. That map is a very spatial map. It's not just an opening slide. The white ones, lines, they are so intense, so complex. Those are our airlines and the trade by air that takes place. Then there are blue lines, which is the sea trade. And the green is not a forest. Don't get misled by that. The greens are the roads, and they look like a forest. The road network looks like a forest because there is no forest now, and we have only the roads there. So that is the slide which I selected to tell that how our connectivity is becoming more complex, more destructive. Probably Mark Zuckerberg would not like this particular sentence because he so believes in a connectivity, connecting the people. But we are going beyond the limit of our connectivity. So let me begin. I'm going to run through a quick slides. Don't go through the numbers. I'm going to tell you the only trends. I told you about the fearsome world. I call it a hockey stick world. Everything is like hockey stick. Do you see the hockey stick there? In our times, the world output has risen as if you are holding a stick in the hand. We have GDP per capita, another hockey stick. We have world population. Can you imagine? In about 1789 or something, when Malthus, in 1850, when Malthus talked about a population theory, we were hardly about 1 or 2 billion. Now we are on 7.4 billion today. Forget that we are 7 billion. I think we are 7.4 now already. We have carbon emissions, which is causing global warming. It's another hockey stick. Look at the temperature rise, the global warming temperature, which we hear almost every day in a paper, is another hockey stick. And this is about we are really crossing the planetary boundaries. See, this planet has a capacity to absorb certain limited quantity of wrongdoings of human being, but it doesn't have unlimited capacity to absorb it. And here is a picture by Rockstrom. He's a great scientist, researcher, analyst from the Yale University, and he has put that. He has identified number of problems we are facing today. They are like ocean acidification, they are on a global warming, ozone layer depletion, biodiversity, and he has said where we have already crossed our boundaries. The red ones, we already crossed there. Climate change, we are about to cross it. There's only one, which is the ozone layer depletion, which is totally under control. That's the program I worked on. Well, I didn't want to tell you that proud moment. That is one of the successful efforts done by the world community to protect the ozone layer. But I just wanted to tell that very few examples where we are in a boundary of the planetary limits. This is another graph which talks about how many Earths we would need by 2050, which is not far. We are in 2017. So we are coming to the 2050. And maybe there is an exotic idea by Elon Musk that we should go to the Mars and set up a colony there, which will start another colonial era, which we have forgotten almost. But probably it is pretty exotic. Maybe some of richest people will be able to afford it. But most of us would probably live back in a planet and probably struggling and striving for that. Well, everything is not bad about the hockey stick. Some of them things are good. And this is a slide which shows that there are some steep rise in a good shows and good hopes. And that is our global solar panel production. The prices are coming down and the production is going up. This is also about, all of you probably, the students particularly know about the Moore's law, that how many transistors can be in a small area of a chip, and how much data can be stored in a small area. And I think that progress has been phenomenal, and it keeps on rising, and the chips are getting smaller and smaller, and we are also facing that. The Facebook, we are 1.86 billion people are on a Facebook. Well, we call it a progress. Call it how many likes you get and how nice your photograph looks. It's a famous saying that you are not as good as what your photo looks like in a Facebook, but that's probably the tricks that the Facebook does. But we are in 1.86 billion, and that's what Mark Zuckerberg is proud of, not because of the numbers, but because of the potential Facebook has in connecting the people. The problem is that connectivity leads to some bad things. People are saying that as Facebook membership went up, we also saw the ISIS, the terrorist movements also going up, because they found a tool of connecting to the terrorist group. And that's why the Mark Zuckerberg 2 days back has come out with nearly 6,000 word letter telling his vision that now he wants to draft a code by which the Facebook posting by someone will be able to identify whether he is a terrorist or not. Well, at present it is terrifying that the Facebook is being used for the terrorism, but at the same time we have hopes that probably some of the technologies will be able to solve the problem. So it's not an environmental degradation, it's not an inequality only, it's not the unemployment only, but what is a daunting challenge is the scary speed of change. It's accelerated, it's a menacing intensity of the change, and a startling connectivity, the lack of clinical practice approach. And that is going to be my theme of my talk to you. Many of you may not know what exactly is a clinical practice. And probably the doctors here would know what exactly that practice is. It is a holistic approach of assessing a patient and creating an evidence-based treatment. That's what exactly we require. We don't require a scientist on biodiversity, a scientist, an atmospheric physicist to know about climate change, but we need a group of those people to assess the problem and have a clinical approach, the holistic approach to solve it. We are leaving a footprint of social exclusion, economic disparity, and environmental unsustainability. And the results are the conflicts, violence, and wars. So people say that unless we know the root cause, we are not able to solve the problem. We now already came to know about problem-solving techniques of assigning a target and a goal. We also came to know that clinical practice, a holistic approach is needed in order to get to the problem. But we also should know what are the root causes of it. Just a quick slides. Shenzhen, the north of Hong Kong. In 1980, this photograph looked like that. If you have gone to Shenzhen now, it looks like that. See the intensity of the change. See the speed at which it is happening. Inequality. These 8 people on the earth, they owe as much wealth as half of the world population. Their wealth is equivalent to 3.7 billion people on this earth. That is the inequality we are talking about. No doubt, I should not undermine them. I want to go back to those slides again. I don't want to undermine them. Because many of them has pledged 50% of their wealth to the social cause. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg has given, I think, 99% as per one of the references. But the real reason of this inequality is not just their capacity to gather the wealth, their capacity to invent, their capacity to be adventurous, and their capacity to be utilizing their potential to the full extent, and their potential to take a risk, but it's also something else. There are many other rich people who take advantage and use the power to suppress the other section of the society. And a typical example is the Somalia's pirate crisis. And I want to go quickly through it, that the Somalia pirates were result of overfishing in a Somalia region. They took up their case in United Nations. I know that case very well. And the United Nations Security Council, being mostly from the rich countries, the OECD countries, except probably China, which is also emerging as a rich country, they neglected their concerns of other countries like Japan and the neighboring Middle East countries coming and fishing in their water 200 kilometers from their sea coast. So they took the law in their hand, which most of the frustrated, daunted people do it, even in India or even in USA. And that's the crisis of the pirates. So it starts with the inequality.